Most gardeners are told clay soil is a problem to escape, break, or replace. But what if that idea itself is the real problem? Before we get into the fixes ancient growers used that modern gardeners forgot, make sure you subscribe to Evergreen Garden. Leave a comment about the soil you're working with, and share this with someone who's still fighting their clay instead of using it. Because once you understand what clay really is, and how it was managed for thousands of years, your garden changes permanently. Clay soil was never the enemy, and ancient farmers knew it. Clay soil is one of the most mineral-rich soil types on Earth, holding calcium, magnesium, potassium, iron, and trace elements far better than sandy or loamy soils. Ancient farmers didn't remove clay, they conditioned it. They understood that clay's tight structure was a strength once biology and organic matter were introduced. The real conspiracy is how modern advice pushed gardeners toward constant tilling, imported soil, and chemical shortcuts that destroy the very structure clay needs to thrive. So why does clay fail in modern gardens? Well, it's mostly down to a biological collapse, really. Clay tends to become hard, sticky, or even waterlogged when it just doesn't have enough organic carbon and living roots. Ancient systems always made sure the soil was covered and fed. When bare clay is left exposed to the sun and rain, it compacts really quickly because those fine particles just collapse into each other. And once that pore space is gone, water simply can't drain and roots end up suffocating. This isn't about texture, it's actually a life issue. If you fix the biology, the structure more or less repairs itself. The ancient practice of layering organic matter directly onto clay soil still works today. Instead of mixing amendments deep into clay, which honestly often makes compaction worse, ancient growers layered organic matter on top and let worms, fungi, and water do the work. This is the foundation of modern no-dig gardening, but it's far older than that. A practical ratio that works is adding a 5 to 8 centimeter layer of finished compost or well-rotted manure on top of clay soil once or twice per year. Over time, this creates stable aggregates as organic acids bind clay particles into crumb structure. After one season, roots penetrate deeper. After 2 seasons, drainage improves dramatically. Gypsum was not a miracle cure, but a targeted ancient tool. Gypsum works only when clay soil is high in sodium, which causes the particles to repel each other and seal up. In ancient irrigated regions, folks used gypsum to flush sodium and allow calcium to dominate the soil structure. For modern gardeners, gypsum should only be used if water infiltration is poor and soil crusts hard after drying. A realistic application rate is 500 grams per 10 square meters, worked lightly into the surface and watered deeply. Used blindly, gypsum does nothing. But used correctly, it restores aggregation without raising pH. Deep-rooted plants were used as living soil tools. Ancient farmers actually relied on roots instead of metal. Plants like daikon radish, alfalfa, pigeon pea, and sorghum were grown specifically to break clay layers biologically. These roots would push through compacted zones, and then, after they decay, they'd leave channels behind. A simple modern method is planting daikon radish at 20 centimeter spacing during the cool seasons, and just allowing it to grow uninterrupted. When the roots rot, they create vertical drainage shafts that can actually persist for years. Biochar was an ancient soil amendment long before it was a trend. Terra preta soils in the Amazon actually prove that charcoal mixed with organic matter can, permanently improve clay. Biochar acts like a sponge, and provides a habitat for microbes while also preventing nutrient loss. The key is charging it before use. Simply mix 1 part biochar with 1 part compost and let it sit moist for about 2 weeks before applying. Spread at a rate of about 2 litres per square metre and, lightly rake into the surface. Over time, clay becomes darker, looser and more biologically active. Water management was always more important than texture. Ancient beds were shaped to control water, not fight soil. Slightly raised beds allowed excess water to drain while still maintaining moisture. For clay soil, raising beds just 10 to 15 centimetres is often enough. Over-raising dries soil too fast and, it actually negates clay's water-holding advantage. Slow, deep watering once or twice per week encourages roots to explore improved zones rather than just staying shallow. Why tilling clay soil repeatedly? Well, it actually makes it worse. Every tilling event breaks aggregates and exposes organic matter to rapid oxidation. Ancient systems disturbed soil as little as possible because they understood, stability creates fertility. Modern gardeners who till clay every season are constantly resetting progress. If compaction exists, targeted broad forking once, combined with surface organic matter, is far more effective than repeated tillage. Clay soil becomes a long-term advantage once corrected. Crops like tomatoes, brassicas, squash and fruit trees really do thrive once their roots have enough oxygen and a bit of microbial support. The key, honestly, is patience and consistency, not replacement. The real conspiracy, if you like, is that clay soil was never actually broken. It was simply misunderstood, stripped of life, and, blamed for human shortcuts. Ancient growers worked with clay using biology, organic matter and time. Those tools still work and, to be fair, they work better than imported soil, synthetic fertilizers, or constant disturbance ever will. If this has helped you see your soil a bit differently, do subscribe to Evergreen Garden, share this with another gardener fighting clay, and leave a comment about what you're growing and what your soil is doing right now. This channel exists to bring back real gardening knowledge that actually works, season after season,